Poets and Change in English, this was a matter I thought had been settled in the late 16th century when Edmund Spenser added to the Fairy Queen 2 cantos of mutability, cantos of change, which dealt with how everything under heaven is constantly changing. A concept also found in Confucian thought, where Tien, the heaven, never changes, but the 10,000 things on earth do. So I just want to write about how some things change.
Hold it farther away.
Okay. I'm going to begin with all of these poems and Zillier poems I wrote since this past January. I've been writing maniacally rapidly. I don't know about maniacally good, but in any case, a lot. Here we go. I teach my granddaughter how to write a poem. She was 10 at the time. I teach her how to hold the pen away from the paper so her thoughts do not confound her sense. The junction of sight and sight, rose petals falling to blossom grassy weeds, drab green, if not rose pink and evergreen, a tall stone wall where lizards basked in June, remembered reptiles now as cold rain falls. Only what's sense, not thought, or even felt, I tell the girl, looking at her mouth now, smelling her mother's soap, touching her shoulder, thinking and feeling years and ages young. My daughter rolling down a grassy hill. Myself, a poet in Iowa, drunk with my friends. Her eyes squint, almost closed. Her nostrils flare. And at first I thought that the evening was supposed to be about political change. I don't write much about political change. I do, but not much. Nothing I like much. But here's a political poem. In Israel, rich people plunder the poor. The weather's good, mostly, and flowers fill gardens and markets. Sunbirds weave nests this earliest spring. The charities feed the hungriest children. Around the edges of the full pots, gobbets spill and all are gathered up. Races and peoples mix in the slums of big cities and share the parks warily. But the parks are green, and thefts with poor plunder poor are watched by the police. I love this country. I admire the skill that turns poor against poor. I taught rhetoric. I know it works. But now I see a gobbet, and I run, like everyone, for my piece. I enjoy the garden I plowed with Susan years ago. So does Payam. In winter, there are leaves instead of flowers. Pale red leaves faded to pink. Green centers of orange fruit under a blackbird feather spread. Just enough to soar on a thermal. Between tall bushes, one almost purple, and other deep jade green, and I so blessed to still have time to raise my white-haired head into a heaven holding all of them. This is sort of political, I guess. Yellow Flowers, a Taoist dream vision. I've also been reading an incredible amount of Chinese poetry and have been swept away by the genius of Tang and Song Dynasty lyric verse. A Taoist dream vision. A yellow trumpet flower hangs near the iron gate from Paratrooper Street into the garden. The poison flower guards. The smallest taste engenders vision of another world. A Tao Eden, a place of immortals. Riding cranes, the long necks stretched out towards islands of the blessed. A second taste is death. Beneath the yellow flowers, in the heavy midnight scent, intoxicating as bottles of good wine and better verse, lie bodies, many bodies. On Paratroop Street, tanks ride by on carriers. All right, this is a poem about how only metaphor makes sense out of anything. Metaphor is what exists at the end of language, when we can't find words anymore to say what we see, let alone what we feel or think. We have to use metaphor. Right. So, I don't know if there is a poem in this rain. Light, but thunder low in the distance. What if that low-pitched roar I hear isn't a dragon, but only the noise of electric discharge when earth and clouds are unaligned so that lightning tries to recreate a balance? The way tears fall down cheeks when pain distorts harmony and words clash with sense. There are, of course, I've been sort of restricted to the garden. For years before that, I was restricted to my bed, and all I could see of nature were pigeons on the window ledge, so I wrote about 100 pigeon poems, but that's some other time. Flap, flap. Mystery decorates the garden, but leaves me in ignorance. Also, like the Tang poets, I have long titles. A butterfly dressed in orange and black, hurrying past the pink perennia, antennae out, must carry the imperial message, but not to me. I may never know from whom to whom, flying so fast and so straight.